Okay, so we have this table of information. So how many points are we given here? How many points do we have? 3 points, right? So this is a point, that's the point 2, 2. And this would be the point 4, 1. And this would be the point 6, 0. So even though the information is given to us in a different form, we could still derive the information we need to find our equation in point slope form. So point slope, in order to do that we have to have a point. Do we have at least one point on the line? Yep, we have 3. Do we have the slope? No, so that's something we have to find. So remember your slope form. Who can tell me what it is? Good. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we have 3 points. You get to pick 2 of those 3 points to work with as your x1, y1, x2, y2. So I'm going to use the first and the last point, just because those are easier for me to write x1, y1 next to, and x2, y2 next to. But if you use the first and the second point, you'll get the same slope. Or the second and the third point, you'll still get the same slope. So using the 2 points that I've identified, y2 is 0. So I'm going to take 0 minus y1, and y1 is 2. So that's going to give me 0 minus 2. And then my x2 is 6. x1 is 2. So I'm going to take 6 minus 2. And that gives me a negative 2 over 4, which is the same as a negative 1/2, right? So that's my slope. So now I have what I need to write my equation. I have at least 1 point on the line. I actually have 3. And I have the slope. So now I can write my equation in point slope form. So which point should I use here? Evan, first, second, or third? Which point? Just first, second, or third. Tell me which point to use. First. Okay. So I'm going to use this point right here. And that slope. And I'm going to write my equation. Remember, it's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And I'm plugging in for y1, x1, and slope. So y minus, nice that both x and y are the same value, so I can't mix them up. Y minus 2 equals a negative 1/2 x minus 2. Now, because we have 3 different points, we could have 3 different equations as answers. So if you chose the point for 1, you would have y minus 1 equals a negative 1/2 times x minus 4. And then we would have even a different equation. However, once we get, if we plugged in different values and created a longer t-chart for this, we would get the same numbers no matter which equation we would use. So the equations look different, but they still represent the same line. Okay, that's all right. Let's do another one. You try this one on your own, and then we'll go through it together. Write the points. Okay. So from our table, we have 3 points: negative 1, 4, negative 2, 1, and negative 3, 2. Okay, so then the next step is to do what? Gabby, what's the next step after we've written our 3 points out? You pick your 2 points to figure the slope. So which 2 points did you use? You used the first and the third. So like this, x1, y1 here, x2, y2 there, and you're finding the slope. So that would mean for using those 2 points, we would have 2 minus 4 on top and negative 3 minus a negative 1 on the bottom. In the denominators, 2 minus 4 is a negative 2. Negative 3 minus a negative 1 would be plus 1. So that is also a negative 2, so our slope is 1. Is that correct? Okay. All right. So Hadley, what's our next step? So in point slope form, we're going to write it out, but we have to pick a point. Which point did you choose? Top one. Okay. So we are going to use, this is our slope, and this is the point. So what was that then? Hadley, what'd you get? So you got a different slope? Okay, but we should still get the same answer. You did? Maybe my numbers are wrong. Oh, yeah, this is supposed to be a negative 2 here. Dang it. Okay, so let's do some, yeah, I wrote it down wrong. You will get different numbers if you used these two right here, because that's supposed to be negative 2. So let's go back. Hold on. So that should have been a negative 2, and that would make this a negative 2 right here, which would make this a negative 6, which would make that a 3, right? And then, so some of you used different points and got 3 as the slope. We're all good on that? 3 is the slope. Okay, so that's my mistake on putting, that should be a negative 2. So make sure you make that change there, and there, and there, and there. And then we'll correct the line. So, so the slope should be 3. I just wrote this number down wrong. Right there, it should be, that should be a negative 2, not a positive 2. And then that would go there. Everybody good? Okay, so we have where I give you, where you're given the point and the slope and you write the equation. We have where we're given 2 points, you write the equation. We have where we're given multiple points, more than 2 points in a table form, and you can write the equation. So the last way that we would be getting information about a line would be just to get the graph of the line. So draw yourself an XY coordinate right here. We're going to do 2 or 3 of these. And you do have a back sheet, so don't worry about making it too big. But let's draw an XY coordinate. This is going to be example C. So you won't always see these points put above the indicated points. And you might not see specific points identified on your line. So if you don't see specific points, you want to find the points that lie exactly in the corner. So not a half, not a fourth, something that's a whole number or an integer. So you'll find 2 of those on your line and you'll identify them. Well, here we have these 2 points already identified for us, and here's the location of those 2 points. So while the information is given to us in a different format, we still have 2 points to work with, right? And if we're going to put it in point slope form, we have a point, we just don't have our slope yet. Okay, on a graph, there's 2 ways to find your slope. We could use the tried and true method of, let's let this be x1, y1, x2, y2, and let's find our slope that way. So I'm going to take 3 minus 1 and 5 minus a negative 1 to get 2 over 6 or 1/3. Hopefully I did that correctly. Does that look right? 3 minus 1, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, another way that we can find the slope, because it's on a graph, is we could do rise over run. Remember, rise is up or down, run is left or right. So we pick one of the 2 points. So if I'm going to go from this point to that point, oh my God, okay, then I would go up or down. So I have to go 1, 2, up, 2 units up, to get on the same level as that point. So up is a positive 2, so my rise is positive 2. And then to get over the run to get to that point would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units. So the run is 6, which also gives me a slope of 1/3. So 2 ways that you can find your slope. You can use the formula, identify the 2 points, find your formula. Use your formula to find the slope, or you can use rise over run. Just be careful and make sure if you're going down, you put it as a negative. If you're going left, you put it as a positive. So had we gone from this point to that point, we would have gone down to, that would be a negative 2, left 6, that would be a negative 6, but negative over negative cancels out, and it would be a positive 1/3 as well. So, and then the last part to find the equation is we already have our we've got everything we need. We have our slope, and we have one of the points. We can pick a point. I'm going to use the second point, 5, 3. So my equation would be y minus 3 equals 1/3 x minus 5. Of course, if you use the other point, your equation would be y minus 1 equals 1/3 x plus 1, because you would subtract a negative 1. Okay, let's do another one like that. How do we get here from here? The x would be left or right, so we have to go left 3, right? Correct? So that means negative 3, and then we have to go down 3, which is the y, so that would also be negative 3. So the location of this point, the coordinates are negative 3, negative 3. And then the location of this point, what's the location of that point? Tyrese, what's the location of this point? 1, negative 2. Okay, so then our next step is to do what, Nolan? What do we need to do? After we've identified the points, we need to figure what? We're trying to write it in point slope form. We have a point. What do we not have? The slope. So we want to find the slope. Okay. So would you prefer using the graph to find the slope or the formula? Formula. So can you walk me through that? What's that going to be? What minus what on top? Okay. And then on bottom? Great. So that gives me a negative 1 on top and a negative 4 on the bottom, which reduces to 1/4. Did everybody get 1/4? Okay, if we did it using the graph, I could use this point, and I would have to go down 1, so that would be a negative 4, a negative 1 on top, and then left 4, that's a negative 4 on the bottom, and negative 1 over negative 4 is 1/4. Or up 1, right 4, same thing, 1/4. Okay, next step is to do what, Tawny? I have my slope. Point slope form? Yeah. Okay, so which point am I going to use? Because I have 2 points.